The boy's voice trembled as traffic rushed past in the bright afternoon sun, and the words he carried were heavier than the small, rusted bicycle he pushed beside him, words that stopped a line of roaring motorcycles dead in their tracks and made hardened men feel something crack open inside their chests. His face was dusty, his shirt too thin for the season, and his eyes carried the quiet panic of someone far too young to be bargaining with strangers for survival. This was not a street performance or a trick, it was desperation standing in plain daylight, asking for mercy with shaking hands. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet acts of courage that change lives, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel Good Soul so more stories like this can reach the hearts that need them. The boy's name was Arish, only 10 years old, and the bicycle he pushed had once belonged to his father before illness and debt took everything else. His mother, Maywish, sat a few blocks away on the steps of a closed storefront, weak from hunger but still trying to keep herself upright so her son would not see fear written across her face. 2 days without food had hollowed her eyes and slowed her movements, yet she had sent Arish out anyway, telling him to be brave and careful and to come back if anyone looked unkind. What she did not know was that fate was already turning its wheels louder than any engine on that street. The bikers were part of a local riding group, men and women known more for their leather jackets and thunderous arrivals than for softness. At the front stood Rehan Malik, a broad-shouldered mechanic whose hands were permanently stained with oil and whose past carried scars he rarely spoke about. Years ago, he had been a boy like Arish, hungry and invisible, until one cruel decision had cost his family everything. Seeing Arish there, under the clear blue sky, brought back memories Rehan thought he had buried under years of noise and speed. As the group slowed and stopped, curiosity shifted into concern. They noticed the bruises on the bike frame from repeated falls, the boy's cracked sandals, and the way his fingers clenched the handlebars as if letting go would mean losing the last solid thing in his world. Arish explained his situation in broken breaths, not asking for charity, only asking if someone would buy the bicycle so his mother could eat. The honesty of it, delivered without tears or drama, struck deeper than any shout could have. What the bikers did not yet know was how Maywish and Arish had ended up here. Months earlier, she had worked at a small garment workshop, saving carefully and keeping life modest but steady. Then a powerful supplier named Kamran Qureshi had withheld wages, closed the workshop overnight, and disappeared with money meant for dozens of families. Complaints went nowhere, documents vanished, and those who protested were threatened into silence. Maywish sold furniture, then jewelry, then finally the bicycle, but Arish had insisted on trying to sell it himself first, believing that people were kinder face to face. The bikers listened, and something shifted from sympathy to resolve. They followed Arish back to his mother, moving through sunlit streets that seemed suddenly quieter. When they reached her, they did not pity her. They treated her with dignity, offering water, food, and time, letting her regain strength before asking questions. Rehan recognized the name Kamran Qureshi immediately, a name whispered among mechanics and vendors as someone who cheated the desperate and hid behind influence. The bikers realized this was not just a story of hunger, but of injustice left unchallenged. Over the next hours, while the sun continued its slow arc across the sky, the bikers moved with purpose. They made calls, gathered proof, and leaned on contacts who knew how to shine light into dark corners. By evening, Kamran's activities were no longer hidden. Authorities who had ignored individual complaints could not ignore a unified voice backed by evidence and witnesses. The stolen wages were frozen, investigations opened, and for the first time in months, accountability appeared within reach. Maywish wept quietly when she learned what had been done, not just because of the food in her hands or the money promised back, but because strangers had seen her pain and chosen action over indifference. Arish stood beside his bicycle, still unsold, realizing it had carried him somewhere far more valuable than a transaction. Rehan knelt to his level and placed a hand on the handlebar, knowing that some cycles were meant to keep turning. Just before the ending, please take a moment to comment below and share what this story made you feel, because your words help keep these stories alive. As the bikers rode away under the fading daylight, engines humming but hearts heavy in a different way, they left behind more than assistance. They left behind proof that cruelty does not always get the last word, and that even in the open glare of day, where everyone can see and still choose to look away, kindness can rise loud enough to stop the world. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share it so others can feel the same hope, and remember that sometimes the smallest voice asking for help can awaken the strongest force of change.